Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the At the Pylon podcast. Alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakas. Chandler, it's been a hot New York minute since we've done a podcast, and what a day to do one. I mean, a historic day today with the eclipse happening throughout the north part of the United States. I guess it goes all the way down to Dallas, but the eastern part of the United States. How you doing? Did you see the eclipse? Those are my two questions.
I did not get to see the eclipse because I was in class for most of it, so that was
Oh,
unfortunate. But yeah, this is a big one. This is the first time that this specific type of eclipse has happened since Thomas Jefferson was the president, and we will not see another one of them in our lifetime. So if you saw it, congratulations, very fun. I was off doing a stupid VR thing that I already knew how to do for one of my classes, but hey, whatever.
I was out there indeed watching it, but I will say, considering that Massachusetts was supposed to be, I think it was 97% covered the sun, it was kind
Mm.
of disappointing. Like it was still actually like bright outside, so I thought it was
Yeah.
going to get really dark. So I guess that shows how much of an impact just 3% of the sun has. So
Yeah, apparently Burlington, Vermont, had complete darkness for like 3 minutes or something.
yeah, they were one of like the hot spots. I heard a lot of people going up there to watch it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they didn't have clouds because clouds did end up rolling in. But
Mm.
regardless, that's all put aside. The most important thing going forward here is the podcast.
Oh
And more
yeah.
importantly, what the Patriots are going to do in the NFL draft. Chandler and I have our mock draft 2.0s ready for everybody here today. We're just doing the first round again, but we're going to talk about who we think the Patriots should draft in later rounds, give some ideas there. So, although our mock draft is limited to the first round and Pro Football Focus doesn't let us do any trades,
Mm.
we are still going to give some analysis beyond just the mock draft that we're going to present. So, without further ado, Chandler, I guess I'll go first again because we all know how much your mock drafts are more insightful than mine. So, I will take the floor first with mine. And a big note to take from this as I show my screen is the fact that I actually did this mock draft before the Buffalo Bills traded Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans. That was a big piece of news coming out last week.
Yeah.
And considering there were no trades in this draft, I mean, yeah, first off, goodbye, Stephon Diggs. So
Big
glad
win
that you're
for
gone.
him. Maybe
Um,
we might win 6 games now because the Bills also might. Why is every team that has had a good wide receiver and quarterback combination getting rid of the wide receiver? I mean, it started with Tyreek Hill,
yep.
and then we've got just this offseason, Keenan Allen gone from the Chargers. Now we've got Stephon
Yeah.
Diggs gone. I don't understand why. Like wide receivers, there's obviously all the rumors about Justin Jefferson, whether that happens or not.
Mhm.
This is so many people are trying to put too much weight on the position of quarterback, despite us having our top three or you having your top three picks all be quarterback.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to say the least. But from a Patriots perspective, we are more than happy to be sending Stephon Diggs down to Houston. Goodbye, see you later. The Bills are in quite an interesting spot, considering that they have the 28th pick in this draft. I would definitely see them drafting a wide receiver now. And Chandler, I believe you did your mock draft after
I
the
did.
trade happened, so yours will have a more accurate Bills pick than mine. But regardless, now everybody had a couple moments to absorb this. Um, it's pretty evident to see, I guess, from the draft that it's shaken up in these past couple weeks, especially
A
determining
little
like
bit.
who's going to take what. And the real, I guess, stumper for us is the fact that we can't do any trades because there were a lot of scenarios where I was like, okay, they're definitely going to trade that pick, or okay, they're definitely going to trade up, but we couldn't pull the trigger on those. So considering those, these are the things that I came out with. Starting off, Caleb Williams, number one to the Bears. That's pretty obvious. I actually flipped from my last mock draft. I have Jaden Daniels going number two to the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I had last
And
time.
yeah, you had that last time, but I actually flipped this side to agree with your mock draft 1.0. And I actually have Drake May going to the Pats at number three. You and I are going to discuss later, Chandler, all of the rumors happening with JJ McCarthy and this whole hype train that's been surrounding him, especially over these past 2 weeks later
Yeah,
after we go over both of our mock drafts.
yeah,
But for now, we'll just leave that behind. Apparently, the rumor has it that he's going to go number two, which is ridiculous.
crazy.
Number 4, Cardinals still sticking with Marvin Harrison Jr. Malik Neighbors, number 5 to the Chargers. They're obviously going to take a wide receiver this time, following what has happened since our last mock draft, dropping Keenan Allen, dropping Mike Williams. Their wide receiver room is empty. You got to go wide receiver. And then I have J.J. McCarthy going number 6 to the New York Giants. Um, Apparently, they're very high on him. I wouldn't be surprised if McCarthy was selected earlier by the Giants or a team like, I don't know, the Broncos or the Vikings jump up and
Sure.
draft him. But in this scenario, we can't do trades. So Giants have McCarthy fall to him, best quarterback left on the board. And it's seeming like they're going to go quarterback in the first round. So McCarthy to the Giants at 6. Then I have Joe Alt, the first O lineman off the board at number 7 to the Titans. They're basically drafting the best player on the border because they're not good. Number 8, Quinion Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. I have him going to the Falcons. Roma Dunze, number 9 to the Chicago Bears to complete that wide receiver quarterback duo that we were alluding to before. Maybe Dunze will
Crazy, crazy
last.
weapons room right there.
Is
That's Keenan Allen, that's DJ Moore, and that's Roma Dunze there. That's wild.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy wide receiver room in Chicago if they do in fact pull this off. And then at number 10, I have Brock Bowers falling all the way to number 10 just because of the fact that I just feel that these other teams need other things more than a tight ends, unless maybe you can argue the Chargers. Maybe they'll take a tight end over Neighbors, but I personally think that they'll take Neighbors over that. So all the way down to number 10 is Brock Bowers, which is another scenario where I'd be like, all right, a team's going to trade up to try and get him if he's not off the board by 10. Number 11, Bo Nix. This is where it starts to get kind of weird because the Vikings are literally all in on a quarterback. People have been kind of alluding to the fact for almost a month now that they're going to draft a quarterback because they've
Yeah,
acquired 2 first-round picks. They signed Sam Darnold, of all people, to be
crazy.
their starter next year, quote unquote. So it's seeming like they're preparing to take a quarterback. And in this scenario, they're just going to take anybody on the board. And if that means Bo Nix at 11, then that's Bo Nix at 11. So as much of a reach as I think that would be, I think McCarthy there might be even be a reach, but Bo Nix is ridiculous. I still have them taking a quarterback. Number 12, Cooper DeJean, cornerback out of Iowa. Jerjon Newton out of Illinois to the Raiders. Fuaga goes to the Saints. I believe I might have had that last time. I don't really remember. But I had Fuaga going somewhere around there. Terrion Arnold to the Colts. They're going to strengthen their cornerback room. Laitu Latu out of UCLA to the Seahawks. Dallas Turner to the Jaguars. I was going to have them go wide receiver, especially considering that Calvin Ridley is gone now, but anything from them would be too much of a reach in terms of drafting a wide receiver, in my opinion. So I would be surprised if they end up trading back in the draft. But obviously you can't do that here, so I have them going Dallas Turner. Um, Cincinnati Bengals, Troy Fatanu, excuse me, tackle out of Washington, strengthen that offensive line for Joe Burrow. Fashanu, I have going to the Rams. They're another team who's quarterback needy, but in a draft like this, where literally like teams are vying for quarterbacks so bad, I don't think that they're going to be able to pull the trigger on a quarterback this year. Might as well wait till next year, run with Stafford for now, and might as well strengthen his O line while Stafford's there.
Yep.
So, Fashanu at 19, J.C. Latham at 20 to the Steelers. They're going to need an O line overhaul,
Yeah.
especially with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields both in town. That takes them off the quarterback board. Byron Murphy the second from Texas to the Dolphins. Nate Wiggins to the Eagles. Amarius Mims to the Vikings. If they end up keeping that pick, which I don't think they will, might as well strengthen your O line to support your new quarterback. Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama, to the Cowboys. Graham Barton to the Packers. Jackson Powers Johnson to the Bucks. Jared Verse to the Cardinals. And then Tyler Nubin stupidly to the Bills. That's definitely going to be a wide receiver there. Zach Frazier to the Lions. Brian Thomas Jr. to the Ravens. Tyler Gutnian,
Guyton.
Guyton,
Guyton.
Guyton, thank you. Uh, Out of Oklahoma, he goes to the 49ers. And Adonai Mitchell, last but not least, to the Kansas City Chiefs. So, not too many like mind blowers, I guess, Chandler. But if you want to take your shot at it, what did you think of my selections here?
I thought generally they were pretty good. I think that they were definitely better than last time. Not the last time was bad, but I think that this time is definitely a little bit better. A couple that
Right.
are interesting. I think this is the second time, I think both times, you've had the Lions pick Zach Frazier, which is interesting because last time I reminded you that the Lions have Frank Ragnow, who's arguably the best center in
Oh,
football.
yeah. Yeah.
But Zach Frazier can play. He can play guard. He can play right guard also. I don't think that's what he will end up playing in the league, and for that reason, I don't think he will end up going there. But he is somebody who has started to kind of creep into that late first round that might end up in that range. Maybe that could be some team trying to trade back to just get like when they have an old center, say like maybe the Eagles
Mm,
could look at that. I don't think they will because they have Landon Dickerson, who I think is sliding into center this upcoming year. But that's an interesting one. And the big one is Bo Nix above Michael Penix. Um,
yeah.
I don't like, I don't dislike Penix. He's starting to grow me a little bit. He's still 25, but he did run. Did you see what he ran in the 40?
I know it was fast, but I don't
Four
remember the
five
exact
three,
number.
four five
Wow.
three with
Four
two
five
torn
three.
yeah, with two torn ACLs. Not like in the moment, but he's had two
Yeah,
torn
yeah, I
ACLs.
know, I know. Wow.
Uh, it's just crazy. He doesn't use it really, so unless you're gonna break him out of that, speed doesn't matter if you don't run.
Hmm.
But I think that he's definitely a better player than Nix. Nix is one of my least favorite quarterback prospects I've ever seen.
Damn.
Not because he's like bad, but because he had like the best possible situation in Oregon. He had like the least amount of pressure out of any quarterback in college football, and he also wasn't great when he was playing against better competition. He was the opposite of Jaden Daniels because Jaden Daniels went from the Pac-12 to the SEC and got better throughout the process of that. Bo Nix got better, but because he went from the SEC, which is a much better defensive conference, to the Pac-12, which is not as good defensively and has lower competition in general. He had very high completion percentage, but he also had a really low depth of target. So I don't know if I love Bo Nix at 11. I don't know if I will see if I love him in the first round at all.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't honestly, I don't think he's gonna go first round either. I just was looking
they have a
for a
need. There
place
is a
to,
need.
yeah. And considering they
Uh,
can't trade out, um, I mean, they're either gonna trade up or they're gonna trade back. It's just a
yeah,
matter of like whether or not they can get a quarterback,
yeah,
if they
but
can
you
trade
can't
up.
do that
So
on PFF, and there's no way that a sane person would get around to that. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
well,
the time for mine.
it's time for yours, Chandler. The
Yeah,
very insightful drafts that we are all very excited for. I think I
yeah.
gave you permission to share your
Yeah,
screen.
so you know how I said like no sane person would find out a way? That's because no sane person would. I am insane.
Oh,
I made
whoa,
a
look at this. She made a
whole
slideshow.
presentation about this because I wanted to make trades. Now, prefacing this, I feel as though not a whole lot has changed in terms of the understanding of prospects throughout the past month or so because we did it right after the combine. Pro days didn't really illuminate anything other than the Michael Penix one. We're learning some things. He's not a first round prospect, but yesterday, Tavondre Sweat, who's probably was projected to be roughly a second round pick, did just get arrested. Um, I don't know for what. I know that he posted a $3,000 bond bail and is now visiting a team. I think he's visiting the Titans today.
I think it
Uh,
was like reckless endangerment or something like that.
Probably. That what else is new? Something about
Yeah,
oh
Rasheed Rice. I mean, that also came
yeah.
out. So, but
Yeah.
also before you begin, I just want to say, it makes more sense now that you wanted to go second because I stupidly asked Chandler, I'm like, yo, do you want to go first so I can like maybe adjust my mock drafts? He's like, no, you go first. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. Lo and behold, I did not open the attachment you sent me a couple days ago when you made
Yeah.
this mock draft, and now you have an
Yes.
entire slideshow with trades. I'm excited to see this. Let's
Oh
roll.
yeah. So we'll notice it just for the first three. I do still think that the first three picks are gonna be the same that I had last time, that being um Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May in that order. That is my thought right now. This one, I wanted to express an opinion that I think very well could happen. So we will get to that. First pick, let's not waste too much time on it. It's Caleb Williams. It makes too much sense. It's going to happen. He was already at his pro day. Keenan Allen dapped, or he tried to dap him up, and he was locked in. It was a cool thing. It's football. It's football. Jared McCain. Let's go. Run it. Number two, Drake May. Now, this very well could happen because, in my
Wow.
opinion, he is a considerably better prospect than Jaden Daniels. In my opinion, and I have stood on this, and I am still standing on this, he is a better prospect than Caleb Williams. I think that Drake May is the guy. I think that he is that next person in that Justin Herbert, Josh Allen mold of player, the tall white quarterback who can still run and has a cannon of an arm. Not to take anything away from Caleb Williams, but I think that Drake May is the guy. So Washington should take him at 2. Schematically, they could. It would make a little more sense for them to take Jaden Daniels based on how they've constructed their team, which is why I still think that is going to happen. But they could not go wrong with Drake May. So
Interesting. Wow.
it's been talked about so much. It's been talked about so much. And I really sat and I thought on this one. Because if you're think about this from the Vikings perspective, that as I was making this was when all the reports were coming out about, oh, the Patriots are going to need a king's ransom to make this trade. They're going to need more than 3 first-round picks. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. I agree with that. Why are all those reports coming out? I don't think it's a smokescreen. I think that is Minnesota realizing that they have Justin Jefferson, they have Jordan Addison, they have TJ Hawkinson. They spent a lot of money on their defense. They want to win. They are in a position where they have enough weapons on that team that they're going to go. They signed Dalvin, not Dalvin, they signed Aaron Jones. This is a really talented team. I think that they are going to do whatever they can to win inside of this window with Kevin O'Connell. And I think that that includes, whether it's accepted or not, a very big trade offer to the Patriots.
That, I
So,
mean, looking at this trade now, just dissecting it really fast, that is a huge haul. Like, I think
yes,
I would do that if I was getting that. Like,
yeah,
that's a
it's wild.
lot of capital.
I do think this is what it's going to take.
Mm,
Because when people say like 3 firsts, sure, but can you see my cursor as I move?
yeah.
Okay. When you say 3 firsts, you're doing a first exchange here. So in my opinion, it has to be 1, 2, 3 firsts, because that's already just a like for like.
Yeah.
Additionally, to balance it out just a little bit more, they're moving up in the draft, which also helps us in the sense that it's slightly less money. So that's always kind of nice for not a huge drop in picks. Yeah, this is my trade. There are many like it, but this one is mine. I think that this is a possibility. If this happens in real life in the actual draft, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit less. I wouldn't be surprised if the
Yeah.
2026 first is more like a 2026 second, and then they don't have that other pick exchange. But Minnesota making that trade with Houston, this was actually after that trade with Houston happened after we did our first mock draft. They are going to make a play at either 3 or 4, depending on how the picks go, and we'll see how that works. They need a quarterback. There are some teams that I just had to lock in at quarterback, regardless of the best player on the board, because their roster quite literally necessitates it. Minnesota is one of 2 teams that was the case for, or for
I have a
which that was the
question. I
case.
have a question.
Yes.
If the Commanders take Jaden Daniels at 2 and the Patriots made this trade with Drake May available, would you approve of it?
No. No. I would if Jane Daniels is. I interestingly enough, I made this trade knowing this, and I knew I would say this caveat here. I have not heard anything out of. I say that like I'm Adam Schefter. I haven't heard anything out of the Vikings camp or seen any kind of reports of the Vikings being interested in Jaden Daniels at all. I'm sure he's going to visit. I haven't really been tracking visits other than the Patriots.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure he's going to visit. I have heard that they think Drake May is the best quarterback. And they're right, in my opinion. So congratulations, you're smart. He might be on the board. I won't be mad if we accept this trade. If we accept this trade, I'm like, they gave you the farm, you have to.
Yeah.
Because as we'll see, I do think this is a very good draft class, and we'll see the work that I did to build this future draft for the Patriots. I did the first round entirely, and then the second and third round, just the Patriots picks. So,
Nice.
do you have any more questions, or shall I move on?
No, keep moving. Let's see.
Okay. Pretty basic here. Marvin Harrison Jr., Ohio State, going there. I had for this one, I had Brock Bowers last time, but that was before Keenan Allen got traded. Malik Neighbors, there's been a lot of talk about him actually being wide receiver one. I think that's silly, not because Neighbors isn't incredible. He would be wide receiver one in a majority of classes in the past, but not classes with that guy. That guy is crazy. That guy is unreal.
Yeah.
He is the best wide receiver prospect I have seen with my eyes. Better than because I didn't really watch AJ Green. AJ Green was the one before.
Yeah.
Julio was also really good, but AJ Green was a better prospect than Julio, and I think Marvin Harrison's a better prospect than Julio was. Malik Neighbors though at 5, incredible player. That's going to be a 1-2 punch with Justin Herbert. 6, another trade. I don't know why I didn't put down the trade.
Whoa.
This is another team that I thought really wanted the quarterback, and I don't know why I didn't write the trade. I have it down on my phone. The trade is the Raiders receive pick 6 and pick 166, and the Giants receive pick 13, a 2025 first, and pick 148 in this draft. This is also another one that I think is going to happen because who is the Raiders quarterback right now? It's
Oh.
Gardner Minshew.
Oh
And
God.
I think no, and I think he can start for a season. JJ McCarthy is not ready to start in the NFL right now. Gardner Minshew will not be a team starting quarterback for more than 30 games in a row.
But also, wait, haven't you heard all the buzz around the Giants wanting McCarthy so bad?
I
Like
have.
if he falls to them, I honestly think that they would trade up with New England to get McCarthy.
I think
But
it's possible. I think it would be silly for them to do that, and I think that you agree with me, but that's not the
yeah,
point I'm
it
going to
would
make.
be.
I think that they shouldn't get McCarthy because the Giants specifically, because they've already invested so much capital in Daniel Jones. They could just be like, we're going to completely give up on our however many dollars we gave him. Franchise, he shouldn't have gotten that money, but he did. That's the fact of life. You have to at least give him a chance. And he has one bad year. He had a bunch of mediocre years before, had a pretty good year. Dayball was there. Dayball's a very good coach. I have faith in him as an offensive mind. I think that Dayball's pride should force him to give Daniel Jones at least one more year. And if it sucks, then you start having that conversation. But there are too many teams that are truly desperate for quarterback that the Giants shouldn't be desperate for quarterback. And the Raiders are one of them in a long-term sense. There were other teams as well. There's one more team I wasn't locked for the Raiders to get a quarterback, but it made a lot of sense for me. The other team that is locked, I will explain why they didn't trade up. I believe it's because they can't. And I'll get a little football nerd for that part. Not that I haven't already, but yeah. So JJ McCarthy, basically, I don't love him. He's fine. He might be really good. He might be really bad. He's just like he's in that Trey Lance mold of didn't throw the ball a lot in college. Is really athletic and just wins a lot because he's one of the most winning quarterbacks in college football history. He also won like 2 high school championships when he was at IMG. I think he's also like the first of those like real like football quarterback prospects out of IMG, which is cool. But he might be excellent. And the Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce, I believe, was his high school head coach. I'm like 98% sure about that.
Wow.
But they had some kind of connection in high school when JJ McCarthy was in high school. So I think they're gonna move hell and high water to get JJ McCarthy with a trade. We shall see. Same as you. This just makes too much sense. The Titans have so little talent, but they have a quarterback, and that quarterback might be really good. So protect him, please, because he was also incredibly highly pressured quarterback last year. Give him the 6'8" guy, maybe even 6'9". I don't know exactly. I think he weighed the size in like 6'8 3/4 or something. Who moves incredibly well and is from probably the best offensive line college in football and is all but a sure thing. A lot of people want the Patriots to take him. He would be really good, but we would just be forcing him to be the next Joe Thomas because we would stink for so long. But he individually is going to be a very good player, I believe. Take him at 7. This one, another one, same as last time. This makes too much sense. Dallas Turner. He's the best defensive player in the class. They need edge help. Bring him in. Bama and Atlanta aren't that far from each other. Again, I don't know why the trade isn't coming in.
Whoa.
I have it on my phone. This is one that I semi stole from somebody that I watch. I made it a trade slightly differently than he did it. A YouTube channel that I watch. But this is a slam dunk, and I will explain why. Chicago has only 4 picks in this draft. They have 1, they have 9. I think they have a 5th and a 7th.
Wow.
That is not nearly enough. Buffalo, I think, has the most. They have a ton, regardless. And you know what they don't have? A single wide receiver that I could name right now. I think they might have still have Isaiah McKenzie or whatever his name is. Maybe they don't though, and I don't know. And that's a problem when you have Josh Allen as your quarterback.
Yeah.
It's Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid are the only people that can catch the ball. So Chicago needs to move back to get assets for a young team, salary cap wise, especially having just gotten Keenan Allen as well. Buffalo needs to trade up to get that last player in that top echelon of wide receiver because the top 3 wide receivers, there is a drop off between 3 and 4. They're going to trade. The Bills are going to receive pick 9 and a 2025 5th round pick, and the Bears are going to receive pick 28, pick 60, and 2025 first. It's a pretty steep.
Wow. That is a.
Steep,
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's a pretty steep one, but at the same time, the Bills are trusting themselves to win at least 11 games. So that pick would probably be pick 23, 24, maybe hopefully for them later than that.
Yeah.
And Odunze is potentially that kind of generational wide receiver talent that can be on the outside. He's a different profile than Diggs is, and I think that the profile that he is might even be better for Josh Allen than Diggs. It's not that he's a better player, but that type of player might be better, real contested catch guy.
Yeah, it's a big price to pay, but I mean, like you said, it's kind of their window to win now. So
Yeah, I think that they'll need to, and they need to pay it. And the Bears get desperately needed capital in a very deep class, especially considering they already have gotten their wide receivers in free agency. They've signed a defense. They drafted their quarterback. They're putting themselves in a position to have a core of players picked at 28 and 60 rather than just 9 to be with Caleb Williams for the rest of his career, in theory. So this one makes a lot of sense to me. Odunze at 9. Same as you, but different team.
Mhm.
I hate this so much because he's so good. He is so good. It makes too much sense because they have a very, very deep offense, but they have Tyler Conklin as their only tight end of value. So Brock Bowers is going to be a generational tight end in New York that we're going to have to deal with for a long time. And hopefully we don't have to deal with Rodgers for a long time because that is a scary connection with that whole offense. Garrett Wilson, Brock Bowers, Breece Hall, Aaron Rodgers. That's terrifying.
That would be bad.
I thought about tackle here because they do have a weak offensive line, but
They did sign some pieces though in the offseason, so it's not as weak
true.
as it used to be.
Yeah, still this is a very deep class. I would expect them to spend a 2nd round pick on that kind of tackle. Maybe a Kingsley Suimanta. I definitely pronounced that last name wrong. Guy from BYU.
Mm.
Just a thought, but Brock Bowers is best player available. I had him going 5 in my last one. This is just slam dunk for them.
Yeah.
Here's the first of our trades. JC
Wow.
Latham, in my opinion, is the 2nd best tackle in this draft. Specifically because he will be able to play both sides. He'll be able to play right and left, something that some people can't do that. It's a necessary pick because we get rid of Trent Brown because he stunk. This is a start to, spoiler alert, we're not taking a 1st round quarterback here.
Thank God.
Yeah. So this is your way to build the team for the quarterback to be ready when we take the quarterback eventually. Be that We take a late round quarterback this year that turns out good, be that we wait until next year, whether that be we give Jacoby a legitimate shot, whatever it be, whatever the next step is, you want to build the team to be ready for the quarterback. And that's what the mentality of this draft for the Patriots will be. JC Latham, very talented. He's young too. I believe he's 21. So this is a piece for the future and a piece for the now because he will be a day one starter and he will be a day one impact player. Whoever gets him will be lucky. In this situation, it's us.
I like that pick.
And it makes
Like,
too much sense in this world right here. But now we're going to move on to the second team that I think is locked into taking a quarterback. And I'll explain why pretty quickly, but I'll explain why. It's the Broncos. They cut Russell Wilson with the largest cut, with the largest dead salary of any player ever. They simply don't have the money, in my opinion, to be able to build the roster that they want while also trading up to get the player that they decide that they want. They're lucky enough in this situation that Penix does fall to them because I think that there is a huge gap, as I talked about at the end of yours, between Penix and Nix.
yeah.
There's a massive gap there. There's also a big gap between Penix and McCarthy. It's not as big though as the further one. This is a necessary pick. I think that 12, I think they're silly if they don't go quarterback unless they're very confident that one of them is going to fall to their second round pick. It's a necessary pick for me. I picked this one almost before I picked any of the other ones. It had to happen.
Well, honestly, I think it's likely that they do get one in the second round at this rate.
Yeah, we'll
I
see.
mean,
We'll see.
unless maybe the Rams draft Penix at 20 or something, like that's really the only other scenario. Or I guess the Raiders, because where were they originally? 13?
13, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's why
okay.
it's one of the reasons why I
Yeah,
have them
that's true,
jump them.
actually. That's true. That's true.
Teams don't want to trade down, though there are rumors that both Chicago and New York want to trade down, which is interesting. If New
New
York wants,
York Giants or Jets?
yes, yes, excuse
Jets,
me,
okay. I was
I
gonna
said
say.
9 and 10 back to back. That's why I said that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think this one will happen, which sends us into 13. There's the trade. This is my plea to them to give Daniel Jones one more chance because as much as this was a big miss on my part, hand up, I thought Evan Neal was going to be a good tackle in the league. He is so bad. Talisa Fuaga is very good. He has his games where he would be the best tackle in this draft, but he also has his games where he is not a first round caliber tackle. He's a right tackle, which is what they need because they have Andrew Thomas on the other side, who I think will be able to have a resurgent year this year. This makes so much sense. Give him one more chance. He also has never had a talented wide receiver. Jalen Hyatt is going to start to develop. He got unlucky with an injury to, I think, it was Wan'Dale Robinson last year. This is a deep class. I do expect them to also go for one in the second round. Get somebody who can actually be a difference maker for a quarterback who has never had a difference maker wide receiver. This one, everyone's saying that they're going to take tackle, so I just have them take the best one. It's Troy Fautanu.
I had the
This
same thing.
Yeah, it's a really good class for the tackles. I think last time I had Latham go here, but we live in a different world. This is the world where the Patriots made that trade, and we want that premium tackle. Fautanu right here, he is one of. It's interesting that he is one of the big knocks for Penix because he was so good. Penix was able to stay upright so much he didn't have to move, which is why we didn't know that he still had the speed that he did, that he displayed at the 40. Fautanu, great pick there. If there was a quarterback, if Penix was still on the board, I would have considered him because I'm not a Derek Carr supporter in this modern day. But yeah, who cares? They're just going to win 7 games. Colts, Quinny Mitchell, this every year, and I said this last time, it's probably going to happen, and I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to look smart now that I'm saying it, I guess, but I'm going to look stupid because I said it and still did it. Quarterbacks will always go up in the draft. They'll be picked earlier, be that Sauce Gardner, be that Derek Stingley. The quarterbacks will be picked earlier than we think, and there will be quarterbacks that fall the same way that Levis was rumored to be a top 5 pick last year and then ended up being pick 33. So this or 2 years ago, whatever draft he was in.
Yeah.
And
I think it was last year.
I think it was last year also. I shouldn't have doubted myself. I knew that I was right. But Quinion Mitchell is the best corner in this class. Little action guy for my college football. People love him. I actually did a little project on him for one of my classes because we had to do a partnership NIL deal thing. which is
Oh,
interesting. He's an excellent person. He was the biggest, like the darling of the draft combine, and before that, all the interviews. He's an incredible interview. This is after having lost Isaiah Rogers, former UMass player because of gambling, and he was one of their top corners. The defense needs corners. Kenny Moore is still there, I believe, but they could use a real number one guy right there. Give him Quinion Mitchell.
yeah.
It's another trade. This trade
Oh,
is because the Seahawks also don't have a lot of draft capital, and Washington wants to pair their new franchise quarterback with a better tackle, somebody who has fallen a lot throughout the course of the season. Not entirely his fault, kind of his fault, because he's a little unpolished, but he is also 20 years old. Olu Fashanu. Um, High risk, high reward pick trade here for the Commanders in a situation where you have to do that when you've stunk for so long and you have to go against the Cowboys and the Eagles and the Giants to a much lesser degree, but Giants are still better than the Commanders. It makes a lot of sense to me. The trade is the Commanders receive picks 16 and the Seahawks receive picks 36 and 40, which is, I think this is what would happen. That is two very valuable picks for the Seahawks, though, in a team that I really thought about having the Seahawks trade up for a quarterback because Geno Smith had a down year last year and is 36 years old. But I don't think that's feasible based on their roster. They're going to go the same path that I think the Patriots are not going to go, hopefully, but in this world that they go of build a team, get the quarterback that later. Jaguars, I think this is the same one that I had last time. Brian Thomas Jr., physical freak. There's a great track record of picking the second wide receivers in LSU and having them be really good, i.e., Justin Jefferson to Jamar Chase. I think this is a very similar thing. He's a weapon. He's incredible. He's a physical specimen. I think he's 6'3", and he ran like a 4.34 or something. He's stupid. Vertical threat, good route runner, very valuable player. And they got rid of they lost Calvin Ridley, so they have Gabe
yeah.
Davis and nobody else to help Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones, I guess.
Wow. What a help that'll be.
I know. Yeah, let's run him in the slot. Let's give him the Baker Mayfield treatment and have him scout team D tackle. Maybe that'll make him a good quarterback. Terry and Arnold. Cincinnati hasn't really had a lockdown corner, or they haven't had a lockdown second corner, I should say, since. And he was not locked down, but Eli Apple was their guy at the time when they were competitive. And getting, again, this is another situation where he will probably go like 13, 14, Terry and Arnold, but it was the best player available thing. It is a position of need. It's not the biggest position of need, but it is a position of need. And Cincinnati's going to capitalize on this being such a strong draft offensively to be able to get that kind of defensive guy. I did this one. I'm not sure if I agree with this one anymore because a report came out today that people are seeing Cooper DeJean, who I think is an incredible player. He's 6'5". He's going to be the first white corner in the league for a long time, or so we thought, because apparently teams are starting to look at him like a safety, which he has played safety. He's a weapon. He's an X factor in a very similar way to not entirely similar. It's different, but he is a weapon in a way of a Marte Mapu, who we have, or the more direct comparison that I like, Isaiah Simmons. That kind of esque player is what Cooper DeJean could be. He's also just dynamic when you get the ball in his hands. I see him as a corner, but everybody else is starting to see him as a safety. So I don't know if this is necessarily the pick with Kool-Aid McKinstry still on the board. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. This was before that report came out today. I still like the talent, and you could still just draft him and then play him anywhere across
Yeah.
the second half. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But I do think he's an excellent player for them to pick at 19. This needs to happen. Last time I had Jackson Powers Johnson go here. This time it's Graham Barton. Graham Barton had an incredible draft combine. He had a very high RAS score. I think it was definitely above 9. It might have been above 9.5 even.
Wow.
Very talented player. He has experience playing all 5 positions on the offensive line, which is something the Steelers need because they could use somebody at all 5 positions. He'll probably end up being a left guard, maybe a center. He is the best comparison I can make for him is he is what people and what nobody thought. He is what Bill Belichick thought Cole Strange is going to be
Wow.
because he deserves to be picked in the first round, unlike Cole Strange.
Rest in peace, Cole Strange.
Recipes. Good. Good run blocking grade this year, though. Same as you. Don't need to explain this one. I explained it pretty well last time. This is an incredible fall for him. The D tackles are falling a lot in this class, in my opinion. He could go at 19, but this is the Christian Wilkins replacement. He's a weapon. He's going to be incredible for them if this happens. It will be very scary for us. A best player available thing. They don't need anything in particular. I've seen a lot of people go corner for them, but then they signed James Bradbury in free agency. They brought him, or not James Bradbury. They have James Bradbury, and they signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Brought him, right?
I think, yeah.
Somebody. Yeah, whatever. They signed somebody who they used to have. I think it was him. So this is their direct replacement for Hassan Reddick, who they got rid of.
Yeah.
And Laiatu has injury history, as it seems as though every UCLA player who's an edge rusher somehow does, because Jalen Phillips had that same situation when he was at UCLA, went to Miami because Miami would clear him, and now he's been playing well for the Miami Dolphins. When I said Miami the first time, I meant the Miami Hurricanes, the University of Miami. But he has those injury concerns. He's a little bit older, but he's a high production player if he can play well and if he can play healthily for them. Second of the trades, A.D. Mitchell is an incredibly slept on player. And I say slept on as if you didn't have him in your first round, but he is just so talented. I think that he is somebody who could be that in a normal draft, he would be like the wide receiver too. And there are a lot of people that are in that vein right there. I was looking for us to take Ladd McConkey, who will go at some point in this draft, but I don't think that he makes it back around to 34. So I think you have to take the wide receiver. It's also a statement of intent that you are willing to actually get players that are good at football on the offensive side in the skill positions. When you have, KJ Osborne as the only wide receiver that we know that is going to be healthy for the first game that we actually like. So this one makes a lot of sense. A.D. Mitchell is blisteringly fast, and even his speed is sometimes overshadowed by Xavier Worthy, who, of course, broke the 40 time and was A.D. Mitchell's teammate in college. Both excellent, and maybe this could even lead to having a Quinn Ewers quarterback next year in the 2025 draft. We'll see. But A.D. Mitchell, 23, great pick. I would be thrilled if this happened. If it happened in the second round, I would be elated, overjoyed.
I don't think he gets past the Chiefs, but that would be crazy if that
I
happened
think
in the second round.
there's a chance. I don't think he should. Of course, I have him at 23, which there's still a lot of picks, and there's some wide receivers that are going to go here in that interim. But there is a chance because it is so deep that some teams just fall in love with other guys in the same way that we fell in love with N'Keal Harry over other good players. And
Right.
we fell in love with Jalen Reagor. We love Jalen Reagor. This is not a Jalen Reagor slander. It kind of is. It's not meant to be. Instead of Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
This kind of thing happens all the time where players play the same position and somebody just thinks somebody else is better, even if they're not. That could happen. It might not, probably won't, but I would love for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This is necessary. Lyle Collins is gone. Amarius Mims, I had him going to the Eagles last time. This time, I just have him go to Dallas, going across the NFC East right here. He's a very talented player. He's a little bit unpolished, but Dallas has a great track record of drafting and developing offensive linemen. So this one makes a lot of sense for me. Necessary one right here. It's kind of boring, but the Packers have had that mediocre tier offensive line since David Bakhtiari started to get injured and then left. But this is going to be a good pick. I had him going 20 last time. He's probably going to play center, but he might start as a guard. We'll see what happens with that. Very talented player, though. He is, again, one of the reasons that Bo Nix has the knocks against him because he is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Verse, this is the best player available. He is so good, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes top 12. I would not be surprised. But
Wow.
you had him in the same range as me, roughly. But he is a physical freak. He's an incredible pass rusher. He will get to the quarterback. Very talented. I thought if we didn't have such a good defense, he would have been somebody that would have been in play for me at 11 at that trade for the Patriots. Simply because he is just freakishly athletic and also very productive, which is something that we don't often see in this range. There's another player that I don't remember if I put in the first round. He might. I think I did. I think I put him in the first round. That I will juxtapose Jared Verse with, not because he's not also talented, but because the production isn't there. So that's why this is such a big fall. Jordan Morgan, Arizona. You have Kyler Murray. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. now. Let's protect our quarterback. Let's make him not miss an entire season and us have to rely on Josh Dobbs and then trade Josh Dobbs. Let's not do that. I like the Cardinals. Let's let Kyler Murray actually have a talented offensive line. He has Paris Johnson from last year, but he got hurt. Yep. And then Jordan Morgan, very talented. Again, very deep wide receiver class also, but deep tackle class for this one. Very good there. I'll breeze through these last ones because I've already talked about McConkey. This is the trade. This is why I feel comfortable with the Bears doing that to accrue assets at the end because they can player of Ladd McConkey's caliber at 28. I think they know this, and I think this is something that very well could happen. I think the fan base might riot a little bit, but they would be silly to do so. It'd be near-saying to do so. Jordan Newton, this is the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Deep tackle, but he can play across the line. I think they'll probably want to play him inside because they have Aiden Hutchinson off of one edge, and then they have someone else who's very good, who I can't remember off the top of my head, coming off the other side.
Oh man,
and then Owen McNeil through the middle. It's a really good defensive line. And
I can't even remember.
this is them trying to follow the model of the Eagles of just having a bunch of really talented pass rushers and run stuffers that you can use in rotation. Tyler Guyton is not much to say. He's a good tackle. They need good tackles to keep Lamar Jackson alive.
No wide receiver there though.
For the Ravens?
Yeah, yeah.
They could Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is cool.
True. Yeah.
I think they can. Again, this is a deep enough class that wide receiver is a need, but it is not the need, especially for relative to where players are drafted.
Yep.
Nate Wiggins, he is incredibly fast. He himself thought that he would have broken the 40 record even better than Xavier Worthy did had he not been injured. I think he was injured and he still ran like a 4.35 or something.
Wow.
Which is stupid. So he's like blisteringly fast. He is an incredible zone cover corner and play a lot of cover three at the next level. And I think that he will be very good at that in San Francisco. And then they have, I don't love it necessarily because they have Hollywood Brown that just signed him. So this is a very similar profile player. But let's get 2 Tyreek Hills. And then let's just play basketball on grass and just be too fast for the cameraman to keep up. This would be a horrifying thing. Just give Andy Reid another weapon that runs a 4-2-1. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, that'd be.
And then quickly, 2 picks right here. I do have us going defense actually because of us.
Interesting.
Edgerrin Cooper is so fast. He runs like a 4.5 as a big linebacker. He's a tackling weapon. A very talented player that I would love for us to take. I thought about going another wide receiver, but again, it's a deep enough one where you can get Johnny Wilson, who, remember this name because how tall is he? He's like 6'8". I think he's 6'7".
Wow.
He will be, I think, the tallest wide receiver in NFL history. Which there's stats about that maybe not working, but you can also he can be what we thought Gesicki could have been. We'll get more in depth episode of that when I actually talk about all of the potential options, him included. But that is my mock draft. We have
gotta love it.
Rumors to talk about.
We do, yeah. One of the big rumors going out that we'll close off the episode with is the fact that the Patriots are supposedly extremely interested in JJ McCarthy. The report came out that Elliot Wolf was really pushing hard for the Pats to draft McCarthy. Not only draft McCarthy, but draft him at number 3. So that, I guess, is really the blockbuster from this last week that came out. Obviously, from the perspective that you and I have both detailed on, Chandler, McCarthy is not that guy for either of us. We both are hoping that we do not draft McCarthy at that number 3 spot, especially if you trade back and you get him. Maybe that's something that's more.
I can live with that.
What?
If you trade back and get him, I can live with it.
Oh, yeah. Same here. I just don't think he's gonna go with like guys like the Giants, Raiders, Broncos. Like you said, he's not gonna fall past them, especially considering this overbearing amount of hype that he's received in these past couple weeks. It's really been insane. Some people are even saying that he's going to go number 2 to the Commanders because the Commanders are in love with the guy. I don't know. It's just been ridiculous the amount of hype that he's gotten. And you and I are both on the same page of we don't want McCarthy at number 3. Maybe somewhere around 12 or 13 would be more understandable for us. And then we get another wide receiver later.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other big piece of news that we'll close out with is Kyle Duggar working his way
Yes.
back on the roster. I believe it was 4 years, $58 million. The contract was. It was clear that he was
Yeah,
upset.
58 up to 66, I believe.
Yep. And I think it's 32.5 guaranteed off the
Which is
top of my
not
head.
too far off from the one that I made. I looked back and I made 4-year 54.
Yeah.
Not too far off. I think we were probably roughly around the same. But
I made mine very similar to the franchise
yeah,
transition tag that he signed,
yeah,
which ended up not being great for him. He was unhappy with that.
yeah,
So they not only re-signed him 4 years, but they signed him a good lump sum of money too.
huge. He's one of the best players in the state.
Yeah, I think it's going to be worth keeping him around for sure. When we look ahead, obviously a lot more to talk about with the draft approaching. 20 days from today, the draft happens. So we're getting closer and closer by the day. We're going to do at least one more mock draft before that happens. But
Oh
make sure
yeah.
to stay tuned for our next episode, just kind of recapping more Patriots news in the lead up to their offseason endeavors with the draft. So until then, that'll do it for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed our mock drafts. But alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakis. We'll see you back here next week for yet another episode of the At the Pylon podcast.